Hello, greetings and welcome. Alright, so for this video we're going to be looking at some of the fundamental theories of Wing Chun and how they blend into internal training principles. When you're training internally, everything is a movement of mind intent through the feeling quality of relaxation, which is a muscle and tendon change. So you transfer load and gravity from the muscle to the fascia by controlling energy through the joint to stretch, and it's through this relaxation of Jin that you move. So it's not a normal contraction of the muscle and you strike, it's a relaxation, opening of the joint to transfer the load from muscle contraction to fascia tension that transfers your body mass into the strike. It's a wave of relaxation. So during these development stages, mind moves relaxation, relaxation permeates from the joint through the muscle, transfers from muscle to tendon or to fascia, more correctly, and you move. So this is the nature of internal Wing Chun movement. And it's really important to grasp this idea that you're not contracting muscle, but you're relaxing, letting go of muscle. Now, the tension remains. You're not letting go of tension, you're changing the expression of tension from a muscle contraction tension to a facial web tension. Because mass is mass, you need to transfer your whole mass through that fascia tension so your power arrives. Force is mass times acceleration. And the sticking allows less dissipation of that force at the point of contact. So when you hit and stick, the force gets a full transfer. So this is very important in Wing Chun. And the way you relax through the joint controls the muscle. Now, if you contract a muscle, your mind intent works from the muscle itself to contract. When you want to transfer energy from the muscle into the fascia, you control it from the joint. So you become aware of the line of connection between a point of contact and the ground, then you relax the joints, put your body weight into the joints and then stretch everything open from the joints, and this stimulates the facial web and stretches your mass through the fascia, not through the muscle contraction. And this is why the bathroom scale exercise is so important, where you put the bathroom scales on the wall, you put your palms on, you push in any way, shape or form, you can get as much force on those bathroom scales as you can, and then you take that measurement of however many kilos it is and relax all that onto the joints, maintain the pressure, so it's still measurable at the same amount, and then relax through the fascia, maintain the pressure until you're controlling the mass in your body through the joints. And as the energy moves between muscle contraction to transfer that force onto the scales, it moves into fascia tension to get there, and then you'll very, very quickly realize, if I relax through my joints, I can produce connected mass, and if I accelerate that connected mass, I have large amounts of force. Now you're able to accelerate mass through the fascia at a much higher speed than you're able to accelerate mass through muscle contraction. If you stretch an elastic band out and you hit one side of the elastic band, the other side instantaneously stretches and transfers force. But if I contract the muscle, the contraction of the muscle takes more time to transfer the force into the fascia and then to the other end. So you have one more step in the process of muscle contraction than you do in fascia connection, because the muscle has to transfer the force into the fascia. Then the fascia functions. The more relaxed the stretch is, the faster that energy transfer is, and the more fascia is able to conduct more mass through that line. So with internal Wing Chun, it's very, very important that mind moves waves of relaxation through the joints. You control gravity and mass through your joints into the muscles, and that produces the Jin. All right, so this fundamental difference is a difference between what we'd call an external martial art and an internal martial art. An internal is focusing on fascia connection, and external is focusing on muscle contraction. And this is the primary difference between internal and external. So when you're doing anything internally, we have what we call the rate of transformation, the rate at which you can relax into the facial web and transfer the force. Now, when a load gets put on your body from your training partner, if you resist your partner and try and use muscle contraction to generate a counterforce or tension, then there's a rate of transformation where you relax that into the facial web. Now, if your facial web's already relaxed and stretched out, and the muscles are released and hanging, and a person puts a force on you, you absorb that energy instantly. But if you get caught in tension and then you transform, that rate of relaxation is how fast can you transfer from muscle to the tendon fascia connections. This speed was going to dictate how quick your internal skills are going to be, how fast you can make things work. All right, so as you develop this this skill of speeding up the rate of relaxation, the rate of transformation from muscle contraction to fascia, you'll get a feeling of how to maintain the fascia connection all the time. So when someone pushes on you, you can fully absorb their force into the fascia, rather than using any muscle contraction at all. Now, your body, the muscle contraction is there for natural movement. We just use too much of it. So it's not switching the muscles off completely. It's balancing how muscles contract and how fascia transfer force to more fascia transfer force and less muscle contraction. So we're using less oxygen, we're using less of the body's energy, sugars, to produce the energy, because energy comes into an elastic and gets sent out of the elastic. You're not burning anything. It's much more efficient, and it's also much faster. Okay, so let's continue with this. Now, if I want to do a complex motion, so let's say I want to do a tan sao or a bong sao, the muscles that precede the rotation of my shoulder to do this movement need to be relaxed. So I have to at least relax from the scapula to the shoulder to open the joint to get the energy to transfer into the fascia. I can't do it from the shoulder because that's where the muscle contraction is. I've got to stretch back one joint and release my back. So I've got to hollow the chest round the back, and then that releases my shoulder so I can transfer load or move in a very efficient way. So you go back one joint. The unique thing about Wing Chun is you don't need to connect your whole body mass in every movement. Sometimes a little bilji strike, just release your upper circle and shoot, and the job's done. You don't need to connect your whole body weight to bilji. You can just use the upper ring. You don't need to necessarily use the middle or lower ring to connect the trunk and the legs. So the upper ring is the shoulder-shoulder circle in here. Your middle ring is the solar plexus, which regulates the trunk, and your waist regulates the legs. So the middle ring will ensure that your energy from the legs and trunk connect, and the upper ring ensures that it connects into the arms. So these three rings are three connectors of the arms, the trunk, and the legs. Now, as you go through this process of recognizing these rings, you'll notice the middle ring of the solar plexus doesn't move much. Your hips can move a lot, your shoulders can move a lot, but this ring here is much more stable. So I can move my shoulder a lot more than this stable middle ring. So the upper ring has more movement, the waist ring has more movement, but you can keep the solar plexus middle ring much more stable. And what this does is it creates a center of kinetic load in your body. Now, the center of kinetic load isn't your center of mass. It's not your dantian down the bottom. It's a center of torque of the springs in your body. So the center of the torque of the springs in your body is the middle ring, not the lower ring, not your waist, not your center of mass on the lower part. Because the torquing is happening from the hands to the feet, and this middle ring controls it. So it's above your center of gravity. And by practice twisting and torquing from your physical center of gravity, and then torquing and centering it from your solar plexus, you'll notice a difference in the feeling of the torque and the speed of the torque. By torquing from the solar plexus and spiraling these three rings, you'll notice you'll have a much faster movement through your body than if you do it off the bottom ring. The bottom ring is responsible for grounding. The middle ring is responsible for body connection from top to bottom, and the upper ring is responsible for the yin and yang nature in your hands, because all the complexity of the movement is mostly in your hand skill. And the way you use the upper ring will transfer forces between left and right, the yin and yang of the body, and so forth. So your root is in the waist, and how it connects your legs to the ground. That's your grounding. Your controller of the overall connectivity of the body is your middle ring, and your upper ring is complexity, the detail of the movement. This model I found to be the most efficient because it allows for me to have a lot of power, it allows for me to have a lot of speed, and allows me to have a lot of complexity in the combinations while functioning internally. If I lower that control point from my solar plexus ring to the waist ring, it's more like a cannon. You end up with these big shots coming out, but you can't piston fire like Wing Chun. You can't use the waist and chain punch and have a continual loading process at very, very high speed. But you can do that from the solar plexus as the middle ring of the whole body, because as one goes one way, energy comes back up the other way, so you have this vibration between top and bottom controlled from the solar plexus, which allows the chain punching to connect mass. If you do it from the waist, the recoil gets partially lost and you have to reload. So you're literally working at half the combination speed when you run the power off the waist and when you run the power off the solar plexus. But you have to practice this idea to really grasp, okay, this is how that works. All right, so as you develop this rotation, you're going to want to make this invisible, so that it's not obvious to your opponent, so they can't see what you're doing. And you want to relax and release the line. So what we do is we put our hands on the wall, and then we relax onto a right leg and torque and put weight into a right hand, and then we relax onto a left leg and torque and put weight on a left hand, and we do this big rotation without our hands moving. So someone touching our bridge won't know we're fully loaded to project a force out. It'll be an invisibly loaded force in the feeling. If you're looking at each other's hips, you'll see the vibratory movement, but when you're in chi sao and person's listening through your hand, they won't know that you fully just loaded an elastic torque of your whole body weight, and then you bang it out and make a person fly. So this method of touching the wall, and if you have a wooden dummy, just do your posture on the wooden dummy, maybe with a paxao on the dummy arm, then torque left, torque right. So you might torque through the right hip to push the paxao out, and then you fold through the left hip and put a lap pack on and pull on the dummy, and then push on the dummy and pull on the dummy. But when you're doing it, the setup is invisible. You don't let your partner see that you're torquing your whole body to release a paxao and you're torquing your whole body to release a lapsao. And this invisibility is very, very valuable. Then you move to the bathroom scale exercise, where you put both hands on the bathroom scales, transfer the mass onto the scales, and then relax the mass onto your right hand, but keep the measurement constant. And then relax the mass through your left hand, keep the bathroom scales constant. So you're doing like a muscle switch. You're changing power line, but maintaining the power on the bathroom scales, left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand. Then you put your fist only one hand on, transfer through the right leg, and then fold the quad the opposite direction, move into the left leg, but stretch the power out and maintain the reading on the bathroom scale. So what this does is allows you to generate connected mass through a wider range of body mechanical models. And be continuously connected when you need to. This generates a condition of invulnerability to a person breaking your structure through a weak point, because as you feel the spherical power around your body, through doing it through elbows, shoulders, all these different positions, and changing your alignment to that power, this means that you can have full torque going out one way and then change to a different position with full torque and then pluck. And the person doesn't see it coming. It's an invisible force that's arising. Next July, I'll have a Wing Chun workshop, and it might be July, August. You can check the website. I'll be doing one workshop on a 10-day workshop on Wing Chun. It'll be 60 hours. We're going to go through hundreds of drills like this. And I'll record all those drills then and put it onto the Vimeo channel, so it'll become a full course. At the moment, I don't have Wing Chun training partners to do this for you. But as different people come up between now and then, I'll post what I can. Okay, so this principle of the 3 rings and torquing and the middle ring controls and transferring load left leg, left hand, right hand, and keep it on the right hand and move between left and right leg. It's really valuable. I can't overemphasize how much benefit you can get out of this when you can put your whole body weight on the bathroom scales, especially if it's just on one hand. Wow. You imagine taking a 40-kilo kettlebell and throwing it at someone. It's just going to break them. Now, your hand is a 40-kilo kettlebell and you touch someone with that and then you accelerate it, you're going to break them. Most people, you'll notice the first time you do this, you might not even be able to get 10 kilos onto the bathroom scales. And you're going, wow, how inefficient is that? As soon as you get 20, 30, 40, 50, up to 100% of your body weight arriving on your hands, that's real power. And you amplify that with acceleration to the fascia, that's incredible power. And then you make soft power in that you're totally relaxed and supple, and you're touching the bathroom scales and just softening down and stretching, and your body weight's arriving. Then people, I call it scary power, because you touch someone lightly and you stretch through their facial web to their base, and then you connect your mass to it and you tear them apart accidentally. And the magic, the chi phenomena, follows these relaxed kinetic waves of force through the fascia. The fascia is the conductor of chi. So the fascia is a riverbed of the meridians. The water flows, the chi flows through the fascia. When you can connect waves of huge amounts of mass at very high speed through your facial web, even if you're not touching your person but your mind's sticking to them, the energy wave connects to them and hits them. So this is what makes deep internal skills appear mystical. But to tell you the truth, when I look at it, it's all mechanical. This is a mechanical thing. There's nothing mystical about internal principles. They're just, science doesn't seem to understand it yet, and in time they will. And as sports science starts getting their head around the idea that moving mass through the facial web with a high degree of tension but a high degree of relaxation, you get these kinetic waves of internal power. And science just doesn't understand the phenomena yet. But when they do, then the whole sports world will change. So it's very, very interesting times ahead. Okay, so let's continue with this internal Wing Chun path. You've done the bathroom scales. You've got your body weight arriving at least half of your body weight. You've learned how to generate a neutral, relaxed, just gentle, soft connection to get that weight there. Now what do we do with it? When we touch someone, we want to stretch through them to their base. We want to connect all the way to the base to correct the yi. Now to correct the yi, we have a simple exercise. We grab a partner's forearms and we squeeze the bones on their forearm. And when you squeeze the bones on the forearm, the yi contracts, the mind contracts to this space. And then release, and then just stretch down into their base, feel inside the body, then squeeze their whole body. You extend the yi and you seize or grab the whole body. And then you take that tension off their whole body, you go back to the forearms and you withdraw the yi, the mind intent, to the forearms, and you squeeze their forearms. Then you stretch into their base and squeeze their base. With just a few minutes of this, your mind goes, this is mind force. This is how I extend my yi. I extend into their base, feel their center of gravity, center of mass, and I squeeze. I withdraw the yi and squeeze the forearms, backwards, forwards. After just a few minutes, every movement you've learnt in Wing Chun will take on a whole new personality, because now you're stretching your connectivity through your partner, into their feet, into their core, and as you move, you're moving inside them. If I do a tansa, I want to move inside them. My elastic is connected to their elastic, and I'm pulling and pushing on their center of gravity because I'm connected. This connectivity, this what they call sticking energy, you stretch through your partner, is the heart of Wing Chun. That's what makes Wing Chun special. And if you get this, you're able to influence the center of gravity of another person just by sticking to their feet and stretching through them as you move. So your movement, your levers, are levering and affecting their center of gravity. Now when you connect your body weight into that stretch and you boom, stick a pulse there, what happens? Your mass moves through that connected stretch, through the stick. The stick isn't the point of contact. The stick is a line from your root to their root. The elasticity is sticking. Your fascial web and their fascial web is stuck together, and you're connecting mass through it. So you're sticking the whole line from their root to your root, your base to their base. That's the stick. And when you move inside your mass through your fascial web and through their fascial web, they can't move away from you. They're stuck to you because that connected mass and that seizing and grabbing of their fascial web through your technique. This concept is super important, and it's very easy to grasp with the grabbing exercise. Grab your partner's forearms, small space in your yi. Then stretch to their base, grab everything and squeeze their whole body. Big space, small space. Switch backwards and forwards. It won't take too long before you understand the nature of yi, you understand the nature of stretching through someone and get sticking, and then go from sticking through a grab to sticking through a touch. You touch someone and stretch through them. Use your whole palm to touch and stretch through, and then use the fingers to touch and stretch through, and get the sticking energy as a part of the yi. That when you stretch through someone, they're stuck to you. And you won't grasp this until you try it and you go, wow, that person's, I can intercept their tension, I can intercept their feeling a connection of mass, I can disrupt all their lines by stretching through them. They become a part of you, so you can control them. Super important to understand this concept. Okay, sorry about the noise, it won't last long. All right, so as we work through this, these training principles, we want to start meshing and connecting all these internal ideas together. So when we look at the 3 rings principle, the connecting mass, relaxing the hanging the muscles, opening the joints, waving mass through the fascia tension, maintaining fascia tension while releasing muscle tension, learning how to stretch through your partner and then connect the waves of energy through your partner and so forth, you're going to find that every movement in Wing Chun weaves together. It weaves together into a type of framework in which every movement is a transition. That there is no movement that has a fixed. It's not a fixed thing. Everything is in continuous change through one movement to the next, and there is no single movement in it. It's a flow from one to the next to the next to the next. And when you stretch through your partner and learn how to flow, so let's say doing the chi sao, a beginner won't be able to keep their feet on the ground when you touch them, because you touch their base, you stretch and open underneath them, they pop. Only an advanced person can roll with you because they pop when you're very relaxed, because your mass is running through them, and if you run your mass down underneath them and you uproot them, they simply can't roll with you because they're not grounded enough. Once they learn how to stick to your base and you're sticking to their base, and they can neutralize your connected mass with their connected mass, then they can roll with you. So if you train correctly, you can't touch a beginner without them floating. And grasping this idea is very, very important, because if you're training with beginners and letting them continuously be neutral and equal to your base, you're training wrong. You're training incorrectly. You should always be relaxing and connecting your soft whole body weight underneath them so no one can touch with you. Only an advanced person can touch with you. Otherwise, you're you're in an error state, you're in an incorrect state. So taking these ideas of, okay, I've got to touch their base, connect my mass underneath their base, stretch underneath them like a trampoline, and if they're not properly connected, they're going to uproot. And if I disconnect that and just roll from side to side like you see a lot of people doing, you're not training properly. Because when you touch someone, their structure should break, and then you destroy them. That's Wing Chun. Break structure, bang, you take them out. So you can only roll with people of equal skill to you who can neutralize your connected mass through your facial web. Because when you slip your trampoline underneath them and stretch your body weight through them, they're going to uproot. And then if you give them a pulse, they're going to bounce. Or if you snap back, the structure breaks and then you're hidden, and so forth. So getting these grounding principles, the stretching under your partner's base, your rising energy correct, your first thing in the form, what do? You sink into your stance, then you rise your hands, sink and rise. As you rise under your partner, you bring them up out of their base. And that's the first thing you should learn in Wing Chun. How to ground yourself and how to uproot your partner. This breaks their structure. You connect your mass under the uproot, you own them. Okay, let's continue on into the next training principle. Economy of movement. Now, economy of movement is finding a balance between the shortest distance to have an efficient defense and the shortest distance to have an efficient amount of power production. Now, there's a lot of movements in Wing Chun where you see a person do it, but they have absolutely no power. So they need to make that movement bigger so they have enough power to perform. They need to get the angles correct and lever so they have the leverage to defend. Doing things at the peak of efficiency requires power and the shortness of the movement to be in harmony. So in the beginning, you might have to have bigger movements to have adequate power and leverage. And then as you refine your technique, get more advanced, the size of the circle of the defense, the movement, becomes smaller and tighter and becomes more efficient and becomes more looking like it is Wing Chun. But having very small, efficient circles with no power to stop an opponent is kind of useless. So we want to have this balance between the size of the movement and the effectiveness of the movement. The smaller the circle, the less power that's there unless you've really trained your connected mass correctly and learn how to accelerate your connected mass correctly. So we want to find a balance in this process of harmonizing connecting your mass and how big of a circle you use, and the bigger the circle, the greater the acceleration of that mass when it's connected. So when you make the smaller circle, to get the same amount of acceleration takes a lot of skill. And it takes a lot of release of the elasticity in the fascia, so you load those elastics to bang that mass out. So look at this balancing principle between the size of the movement, the effectiveness of the movement, the power of the movement, and so forth. Don't hesitate to start with bigger circles to make it work, and then make the circles and triangles smaller and smaller as you get more skill. Okay, so the next aspect to look at in Wing Chun from this economy of movement is into simultaneous attack and defense. Now, when you apply the principle of simultaneous attack and defense, you have this idea in some schools where you simultaneously put your tan sao out and you punch at once, so you have block and attack at the same time. Now, if you count the speed of this, you go 1 strike, 2 strike, 3 strike, versus 1 strike, 2 strike, 3 strike. It has the same pulse in it, but one hand here, one hand is yang, one hand is yin. Here, one hand is yin, the other is yang. Now, on this transition from there to there, because it's yin, it's already loaded up for my yang strike. But if I go double yang, there has to be a withdrawal to do another double yang. What does this mean? It's half the speed. And you go, wait a sec, simultaneous attack and defense, how can it be half the speed? It's the same speed or even faster on a single movement. But on a combination of movement, it's half the speed. Why? Because if I go double yang, I have to withdraw the hand that I'm going to punch with to go yang again. I have to go yin before I can go yang. I've got to withdraw, strike, withdraw, strike, withdraw, strike. But if I'm doing this, I'm withdrawing, the withdrawal's already happened. But if I'm here and I'm withdrawing, this hand would be having to pull back while that one's going out. And it would have to be a yin defense, not an intercepting yang defense. So we have a trade-off happening. The yin-yang hands are double the speed of the double yang hands. So the drills where people go 1, 2, 3, 4, where they're expressing double yang, the yin takes time before you can reload, versus yin and yang simultaneously. It's a totally different speed rate, and that'll equate into your chain punching. So you chain punch, and on the yin return side of the punching hand, you're chain punching and you do a tansa, or whatever technique you're doing, so that you can do your combination at chain punching speed. This is far faster than doing double yang movements. Double yang movements have their time and their place in which it works really well, but generally speaking, you're giving up power in your punch to put yang energy into your defense. So if the more energy that goes into your yang defending hand, you're taking power away from your yang attacking hand. This doesn't happen when you do a yin-yang. It's actually the opposite. When I touch my partner's base there and pull on it, his power circulates into my yang hand. So I have my mass plus his mass. So I not only double up on my own yang force in my punching hand from my body weight having more than if I went double yang, losing weight to my defending hand, I'm taking his force and my weight, putting it in there and hitting the person with more energy. Seeing it with a far greater power with using the yin-yang model on your defending and attacking hand than a double yang model. So this simultaneous attack and defense and this economy of motion principle, when they start overlapping, you have to really look deeply at what works the best. And if you do a few thousand hours of sparring, and not many Wing Chun people get a lot of sparring, and you quickly realize that to flow into your attack, you need a yin and yang hand. You can't go double yang all the time. It just doesn't work. You need to be absorbing and striking simultaneously. And it's best to create an environment where people glove up and they spar in such a way that it's like a dance. I throw the punch so you can defend perfectly, and then you throw so I can defend perfectly. And then we have this defending the kicks and the punches and knees and neutralizing the takedowns like a dance. So perfect timing. And then once the student has perfect timing in the dance, where you throw the attack at them so they're able to time what they want to do, then you put some gloves on, some headgear on, a mouth guard, and you don't go full speed. You just rhythmically increase the intensity and the will and the conditions upon which the student's training until they're able to spar with full power. And this is very important because the only difference between the top 10 fighters in the world is timing. You know, their cardio is similar, their technique is similar, but the guy with better timing is the winner. So you want to train everything timing. The worst thing you can do is punch the air because you're learning how to miss a target and punch air. You want to always be working within the context of timing and then visualizing that timing on the wooden dummy and the wall bag and the punching bag to get your timing and your distancing. Having a big chest shield for your partner and hitting the chest shield so that you get your distancing and timing working as for your counters. Huge value in that. Okay, so let's go a little bit further. This video is getting a bit long, but I'm sure some of you will appreciate it. Now, when we go into the sparring side and putting all this together with the timing, we've moved through the dance that we're putting everything at the speed at which my partner can perfectly time and defend, and I can do the same. That's fun and addictive, and no one's getting hurt. As you increase the intensity, of what you're doing and start competing with each other, then this is where the learning increases, where your partner is really testing all your strengths and testing all your weaknesses and ironing out all these areas of your training where you have power and where you have good defense and where you don't. And by them doing this for you, every time you get hit, they're giving you a gift. And that gift is saying, here's a weakness. So the more gifts they give you, the more things you have to fix and repair. So you never hit your partner with a sense of, I'm beating you. You hit your partner with a sense of, you've got to fix this. So you're giving them a gift and polishing them up. You're making them better. But you maintain control of how much pain is in the gift. You don't want to hurt your partner, but you want to let them know there's a weakness there. So you tag them in such a way that, okay, I've got to fix this. And as you train with your training partner, they're doing the same for you. They're trying to fix all your gaps as they compete with you to find flaws in your structure, in your timing, in your thinking, in your personal art. So if I'm trying to uplift my partner and they're trying to uplift me, and everyone in the room is trying to make everyone else better, the growth rate between each person is at an incredibly high speed. So we really want to be looking at how to amplify this growth rate for other people, how to get people to get really good really fast, and everyone in the group is fundamentally doing the same thing, of amplifying each other's growth rate and getting each other to move at a very, very high rate of development. Okay, we've got a few people coming, so I'll say goodbye to you guys now, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you.